Initial reactions from Section 7 in Glendale. What you need to know about some of the players from Friday and Saturday and some of the coaches.
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now we're giving you a Saturday recap of everything that went down at Section 7. Okay, now, first and foremost, we've got to give some of these coaches a real shout out because they have been my guy Jack Murphy has been absolutely, listen, I think everybody knows how good of an asset Jack Murphy is for the University of Arizona, but I don't think people know, just how hard and tirelessly this guy works. This guy was born backing the A. And when I say that he backs the A, he does so much work that nobody sees, travels everywhere, does all kinds of stuff. Murph is the man, came up and chatted with us for a while, very much like Jack Murphy, good dude, and TJ Benson working his butt off as well. There's going to be a coaching opening that comes up here. Certainly hope that TJ Benson gets that position. But now let's talk about some of the players that they were watching and how they performed on Saturday. The first one we want to talk about is Tunde Yesu. Tunde Yesu is very, very good. Now, in the morning, didn't exactly play great, was just kind of there. And, but he was in front of Bill Self. It was in front of Scott Drew. Scott Drew. I almost said Bryce Drew for some reason. But in front of Bill, all of those guys, and then it was also in front, obviously, of Tommy Lloyd, everybody. Yesu is built like an absolute truck, as you know, and he is going to be able to choose his schools, as you know. He is like I said, this is probably going to be one that's going to play out a little bit longer. Arizona certainly has been on him the longest, but this is not going to be an easy recruitment. Like I said, this one has gone national, and he will continue to be national. He is really, really upped his skill set, and that's something that I think as an Arizona fan, it's fun to see, but you're also like, well, I wish you wouldn't maybe have gotten this good. It's good. Like I said, this is going to go all the way down to the wire. He said that he's going to announce I believe in January. And, that's obviously been a little bit of a departure from in the past. So things have changed in that regard. But overall, just an incredibly awesome player. Can get to the basket, can hit the step back three. He's really shown that in his repertoire as well. And he's just looked really, really good doing it and the entire process. And if you're an Arizona fan, I think you're also kind of like, interesting here. You need him to basically be able to be that dude that, if you get him on campus, he's going to be really, really good because he's probably only going to be there a year or two. I'm still not sure what kind of an NBA prospect he is, but overall, he is a no-brainer player that you offer, and he's continued to improve. Obviously, a really good kid as well, which bodes well for his development. Very excited to see what he can continue to do, though, as he progresses. But Arizona has been on him for the longest time, and hopefully he remembers that, but obviously very, very good. All right, then another one, Braden Burries is fantastic. Braden Burries is probably my favorite guard in the entire class, and he continues to get better as well. He is a point guard. He is very, very big. He is long. He's actually become a much, much better athlete than he was. He can shoot the three. He can get into the paint. He can create for others. There's just a lot that he can do that is advantageous for winning basketball. And watching him, you can also tell, too, that he's a good kid. He gets it. Arizona's been in this one for a long time, obviously, but you're also going to be looking at schools. He's mentioned UCLA a bunch. I do not understand why any kid would want to go to UCLA and play for Mick Cronin, but what do I know on that one? But that's certainly something to keep an eye on. But Braden Burries is fantastic. I do think that Arizona is going to be just like with Tunde Yesu. Arizona is going to be in this one until the very, very end. And so we will definitely keep you up to date on that and how everything goes. But lot to like about that current situation there with Braden Burries and with Tunde. Like I said, just because something goes national doesn't mean that Arizona obviously can't win. Arizona gets national recruits all the time. That just means that it's probably going to drag some stuff out. We'll keep you up to date. Now, Burries is a little bit different than Tunde in that Burries is a no-brainer in my opinion. Burries is probably a one and done. Burries is an easy guy to pencil in as an NBA player, and he's probably going to be an NBA player for a very long time. And he continues to mature. He's probably a one-stop shop at the wherever he goes. We'll obviously continue to keep you updated on him and everything that he can do, but he has been absolutely fantastic, and he just continues to get better. He gets it, and I think that's the thing that also, if you're a coach, you're very intrigued by, is that you have a player that gets it. You know that he wants to continue to get better. Not only does he want to continue to get better, he's already pretty much shown that he can do all of that. So we will, like I said, we'll keep you abreast on everything that goes on with him. But he's another one. He's a priority recruit for Arizona, and he's going to be a priority recruit until the very, very end. They've obviously targeted a lot of these guys. They've targeted them early, and I think you're going to continue to see that be the case. Now, one thing that is also the case is FanDuel. Check out FanDuel, my friends. We are in the bad time for sports, in my opinion. There's no NBA, there's no basketball, and there's no football. But listen, FanDuel.com/lockedon has you covered, because the one thing that does make some of this tolerable is being able to bet on a game like baseball. I do not care about baseball, but if I'm betting on baseball, I have an interest in baseball. Same thing with the other sports. If you're betting on it, it becomes a little bit more interesting. You add a little bit more skin in the game. So again, check it out, FanDuel.com/lockedon. The other thing too is that you know that your money is good. And when you know your money is good, that also helps you out as well. So again, check it out, FanDuel.com/lockedon. Another one where you will thank me later. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now we're hopscotching all over the place. So let's talk Cam Holmes. Cam Holmes, outside of Kobe Pete, is probably the best NBA prospect in the state. Cam Holmes, lefty, obviously, everybody knows about his brother, Deron. Deron's going to be a first-round pick, but guess what? Cam Holmes is a better prospect at this stage because Cam Holmes is a natural perimeter player. Cam Holmes, you watch him and you can tell very, very quickly that basketball kind of comes easy for him. He's a very good passer. He's a lefty. I'm always very partial to lefties, and he can create for himself, and he can also create for others. Holmes, like I said, is very, very good. And not only is he good, he's also the kind of dude that you're watching him and you're like, man, your best basketball is definitely in front of you. Watching him, though, is definitely a treat because you know that his family has been through the process. They're good people, and they know they know what's expected. They know what's expected of him. And I think with Cam, you just know that this is going to be a spot where this is going to be a spot where you do know that wherever he ends up, he's going to be really, really good, and that's kind of where it's at. He is. I would imagine he's going to stay a Millennium this entire time. Seems like a loyal to the soil type, and like I said, he's got an NBA future. He's a very easy player to project as an NBA player, and Arizona has been recruiting him as such. These are the type of kids that you need to be able to keep at Arizona if possible. In Arizona if possible. ASU's recruiting him as well. But like I said, Arizona is going to continue to try to make this push as long as possible, and I think that they will be in this one until the very end. Like I said, huge fan of Cam Holmes, what he can do, and just kind of his overall feel for the game. That's something that you can't really teach, and I think with Cam, it's a very nice thing that he's got. And honestly, I think when you're dealing with somebody like Cam Holmes, you also know that it might take a little bit longer per se for some players to be able to contribute, he's going to be able to step in and contribute immediately. He's been at the top of his age class for a long time. And he's also, like I said, he's pretty well put together for that age, but he's also not in that, kind of that realm where you're like, man, can this guy get any better? You know that he can get a lot better. And I think you're going to continue to see that. But like I said, Cam Holmes, really, really good basketball player and somebody that I think is, like I said, is going to continue to get better, and an NBA prospect. Like I said, stop me if you've heard this one before, but all these dudes, NBA prospects. And that's also something that's pretty cool about dealing with so many of these in-state kids. Back in the day, like we talked about, it was there would be one every 2, 3, 4 years. It would be Mike Bibby, and then it would be Richard Jefferson. Then it would be Fry. Then it would be Baylor. But there would always just be kind of one dude in there. It's totally different now. This is totally the game has changed entirely in that regard. And that's something that, I think it's a testament to local, coaching, recruiting, and everything else that's kind of going on. But Cam Holmes, like I said, I expect him to be a one and done type player. Very, very good. All right. Then another one we got to talk about, Xavion Staten. Now, Staten in these tournaments, guys like Staten don't necessarily stick out because they're big men that run the court, they block shots, but they don't, like I said, they don't necessarily stick out. You watch Xavion Staten and you can just tell very, very quickly that he's got a lot of Christian Coloco in him. When you looked at Christian Coloco, you knew that, he was pretty skinny. His body was going to take some time to develop, but when he got there, he was going to be able to, he was going to be good. What you like about Staten is a couple things. First of all, he can run the court very well. I care about things like that, obviously. He can also finish around the basket. And not only can he finish around the basket, he's active. But, in these settings, that's not necessarily always the best thing for to bring out the best in a player. But Staten is somebody that Arizona is going to recruit. Now, with Staten, I think where it's going to be interesting to see is how exactly does this play out then for Arizona with – how exactly does this play out then with the players that you have coming back? Because keep in mind, you've already got a Mount Crevis coming back. You've already got I almost said Tobias Awaka. I'm thinking about another guy from Tennessee, Tobias Harris. You've already got a Tobe Awaka coming back as well, a very good player. But, so does Staten plan on starting, or does he need to start? Because if he needs to start, Arizona is going to be a difficult spot for him to be able to kind of get in there. But if he's going to take his time, then Arizona is definitely a spot, because keep in mind, Tobe Awaka would be gone by then. You would have Mount Crevis, and that would be kind of it. So again, with that, I think that we're kind of at the stage where that Staten, it's just going to be depending on what he's looking for. If he wants to start immediately, then UNLV is going to be that spot. But if he wants to go to a place, where maybe in that year 2 he really develops and he's on a nationally relevant team, then Arizona is going to be that spot. Well, like I said, we'll find out. But he's a very talented dude, and obviously he's an easy offer. It's just going to depend on what he wants. I'm also always of the belief that if you want to offer somebody, you want to offer them, I want to offer one guy who can run the court, one guy that can block shots every single class, because when you hit on them, they become absolute monsters, like a Christian Coloco, like a Jordan Hill. And if they don't hit, then, an Angelo Chol, then guess what? They're out. So it's just, like I said, it's that's something that I would always do. And I would very much like to see that. Now, another guy to keep an eye on, obviously another in-state kid from a couple of the charter schools, Kenna Alozie. Now, watching him, he passes the eye test in a big way. You watch him and he can get downhill. He can get to the basket. He can score. He can just do a variety of different things, and he can do them easily. He's kind of got that next level type potential. He's got that next level type potential to him. And I think what's also fascinating about him is that you can just tell that he's not going to take time. When he enters college, he's going to be able to step foot on campus, and he's going to be able to make plays, and he's going to be able to kind of be that next level contributor immediately. And I think that's kind of what you're looking for. If you're Arizona, you're looking at, that Jaden Bradley is going to probably be moving on. And then when Jaden Bradley moves on, you don't really have another point guard on the roster. I am not of the opinion that Conrad Martinez is going to be a U of A good player. I know a lot of people want to throw him in there as that. I don't see it. Again, I would love to be wrong on that, but I don't see it. I think that he is. I think Arizona's got to go out and they got to look at that point guard. They've got to find that dude, whoever that is, and when they find him, he's got to be able to come in and play immediately. Because especially to somebody like Jaden Bradley, sure, he's got another couple years, but guys like that, they're generally looking to get to the NBA. So if he has a really nice season, you could be looking at somebody that's looking to go on to the NBA. So Kenny Alozzi, very nice player as well. Then another guy, and we're going all over the spot, 2027, Bruce Branch. Bruce Branch from Gilbert Perry. Like I said, stop me if you've heard this school before. He's going to be a monster. He's 6'7", 6'6" already. He's going to be a sophomore. He looks young. He looks very young for his grade. His father played in the NFL. His mother's very tall. He's very, very good. And the game is natural to him. And not only is it natural, he's able to just kind of get wherever he needs to on the court already. His best days are definitely in front of him. It's very easy to see why a school would be very intrigued by what he can do. But he is, like I said, he's good. And not only is he good, he's a player that you're like, all right, man, you could easily be a 5-star. You could easily be a 5-star down the road, and I think that's going to be the case because he's just able to do everything. I would expect Arizona to continue to recruit him I would expect that to be picked up as well, just because I think Tommy Lloyd at this day and age is now looking to offer kids early. So we'll obviously see how that plays out. But overall, though, there's a lot, and we're going to talk about this more tomorrow about some more prospects, but there's just a lot to like about this recruiting class and where Arizona's looking at. A big thing with Tommy Lloyd is culture and fit and where everybody fits in. And if they fit in, then you're going to go for them. And I think Arizona is in a very, very nice spot in that regard. So, and it was cool too, to just see, I wanted to give another shout out to the coaches because we're going to get back into that in a second, but man, this coaching staff works hard. I mean, you look at now listen, like a guy like Steve Robinson, I'll be honest, I don't know exactly what Steve does, but the other coaches from Jack Murphy, and Ricky Foy, we're going to get to in a second. He's not obviously a recruiter, but Jack Murphy, TJ Benson, these dudes are at everything, and they're at everything because, they just get it. They back the A, and they know everything, that there is to know about, these, the players, the families, just some really cool stuff all around. And, looking at it, it's going to be interesting to see, who else they really choose to target, because they're looking at kids earlier. But, that 2025 class that we've talked about before, that kind of that quartet of Tunde Yesu, of Braden Burries, of Xavion Staten, and Koa Pete, that would be obviously the dream class for Arizona. They'd love to be able to add a point guard in there as well. And, if they can add a point guard, then Arizona's going to be set. And obviously they would love to add Braden Burries, and they would love to be able to add him and him be that guy. But, obviously you got to have some backup options. That's why you're talking about somebody like an Alozzi. But like I said, tomorrow we're going to talk about some more names, because there's some younger in-state kids like a Mason McGee, who's very, very talented out of St. Mary's, a Cam Williams, a Darius Wobbington out of Sunny Slope. Again, just a ton of really talented in-state players to keep an eye on. And we're definitely going to talk about that and what exactly they can bring to the table, because there's a lot to really like about what they can do. But first, let's also talk about LinkedIn. Here's the thing. Let's say that you are looking for a job and you're like, man, I don't know where to find this job, or I don't know who's hiring, whatever the case may be. Go to LinkedIn. Check it out. LinkedIn.com/lockedoncollege. Post your job for free. Like I said, somebody that got a job through LinkedIn. I know somebody that got a job through LinkedIn. You probably know employers that found people through LinkedIn. Everybody uses LinkedIn, and there's a reason why, because it works. So again, again, check it out. Post your job for free. Cut out the middlemen. Cut out all of that nonsense where you're like, man, I don't really know what's going on. I don't really know about any of this. LinkedIn has you covered. Get rid of all of that. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now, obviously this has been reported, but Ricardo Foy, is likely to go on to the Sacramento Kings. Now, he was big on internal development. He was also big on game strategy. He did not recruit at all. And honestly, there was a language barrier in play as well, so he was never going to really be a recruiter. But he sounds like he is going off to the Sacramento Kings. I believe this is a very easy choice. You promote TJ Benson. You bring in TJ Benson. He is obviously very comfortable with the staff. He's got a very, very good relationship, obviously, a Dream Christian from family connections, and he's a good dude. He's a tireless worker, and he's at every single thing. Like I said, he and Murph are everywhere. Got to give them a lot of credit for what they do, but that would be my choice. I think that is I think that's a home run choice. I think it's an easy choice. You know, another name that I think a lot of people are going to probably bring up is Miles Simon. He's available, but like I said, as much as I like Miles, I think that TJ Benson has gone through it. TJ Benson has worked his butt off, and I think he deserves that. I think with Tommy Lloyd's staff, you got to be able to have guys that are grinders. You got to be able to have guys who are hard workers. Because again, you got some guys on the staff that aren't necessarily recruiters. And I think that, Arizona is able to obviously get the players they need, but I think it always helps when in doubt if you can add a recruiter to the mix. And that's exactly what TJ Benson would be. Plus, he's very well thought of by his peers and just a cool dude overall. So that would be my choice. Not that anybody really cares, but that would be my choice. All right, now, tomorrow, we're going to talk about where Arizona stands with some of these players. Who are some of these other schools that are out there as well, and where exactly they stand? Because, Bobby Hurley certainly seems invigorated. He was at a lot of different games. He's got a little bit of NIL money now to be able to spend. He was at a lot of different spots, so that's going to be an interesting one to follow. You also look, Muss is all over the place. He's at USC, so he should be able to get some players as well. And then Mick Cronin is at every single event, so he's there as well. I still have no idea why a player would ever want to go play for Mick Cronin, being that he bashes his players publicly at every turn, and he never blames himself for anything. I would never want to play for Mick Cronin. Mick Cronin, no thanks. But and then obviously other players as well, or other coaches as well. Bill Self was everywhere. Scott Drew was everywhere. Kind of a who's who of people. It was just kind of a cool little event to be at. So, like I said, if you can make it down there, you still got the rest of the afternoon. But then we will, like I said, we're going to be breaking everything down. Also, we're going to be talking some Arizona football. Wouldn't surprise me at all if Arizona gets another commitment or two, and some, maybe an in-state player or two. We'll find out. But right now, things are really humming along. Arizona football is doing great, and Arizona basketball, we already know the entity that is. So, like I said, pretty good stuff. But like I said, Arizona is going to finish just fine when it comes to recruiting. Tommy Lloyd has this one figured out. He knows the kind of players that he's looking for. He knows who he wants, and he's going to be able to go from there. And Section 7 was just another perfect example of a man that gets it. And not only does he get it, he's well liked by everybody out there. So, but again, tomorrow we're going to talk more recruiting. We're going to talk maybe a little bit of Arizona football if things break. But as always, very much enjoy the rest of your day. I'm your host, Mike Luke. Bear down, back the A, and we will be back with you tomorrow.